the concerns when it comes to humanitarian city.
Thank you.
Alex?
Thanks so much. I'll come back. A couple of questions on Russia, and then we get them back. Please come back to you on the Caucasus. EU leaders today said that International Center for Prosecution of Crimes in Ukraine will be established in the Hague. Does the Biden administration support this idea?
So on this, Alex, you know that we are promoting and supporting accountability in every viable way, in every way that we think will be effective. We've spoken quite a bit about our support for the Ukrainian Prosecutor General, for that office that has already undertaken prosecutions, has secured convictions through free and fair trials, and has actually sentenced individuals to prison terms for the war crimes that they've committed on sovereign Ukrainian soil. That is a process that is well underway. There are other processes that are underway to varying degrees as well. The OSCE has its own process that we've supported. The ICC is engaged in a process that we're supporting. The UN too has an accountability mechanism that the United States helped to establish. We're in constant conversation with our Ukrainian partners, in this case with other allies and partners around the world to determine if there are other venues, if there are other mechanisms that can promote the goal of accountability for those Russian officials who were either directly responsible for perpetrating or responsible for ordering what ultimately turned out to be war crimes. Those are conversations that are ongoing.
Is it your position that President Putin should be punished in the court?
That is a question not for me. That is a question for legal authorities. There is war crimes carries with it various definitions and criteria. It's we don't render legal verdicts from the podium here. We leave that to the appropriate authorities.
There's a discussion over coming up with alternative, let's say, national designation of Russian crimes, which is maybe not designated as a state, but an aggressive state. Has that reached to any conclusion?
So we continue to have conversations with our partners on the Hill about new vehicles that we might be able to take advantage of that would allow us to apply on the Russian Federation additional measures in response to the atrocities that it is perpetrating against the people of Ukraine. You know, Alex, that we have already levied against Russia financial sanctions, export controls, other economic measures as well that are having a tremendous bite, not only in the Russian economy, but also in Russia's ability to wage war against Ukraine. You can see reflections of that in any number of steps that Russia has been forced to take. The fact that Russia is now turning to, shall we say, non-traditional partners like Iran and the DPRK to backfill its military wares is a very concrete sign to us that we are starving the Russian Federation systematically of the inputs that it needs to create the outputs that ultimately would perpetrate such violence and brutality on the Ukrainian people. We're always going to look for additional measures we can take under existing authorities that are available to us, but we're working with the Hill, taking into consideration their concerns, taking into consideration the concerns that we've heard from various stakeholders, including humanitarian organizations and other humanitarian actors about the implications of a potential state sponsor of terror designation to determine if there are other vehicles that could be crafted that would allow us to apply additional accountability on the Russian Federation.
I think you finally get your thoughts on the ongoing debate over Paris 2024 Games. As you know, a couple of countries have issued a statement, and they are asking for banning Russia and Belarusian apples. First of all, are you able to reflect that statement from the U.S. position? Also, will the United States take a part if there is different outcome?
So in December, the International Olympic Committee outlined its continued sanctions of Russia and reaffirmed its support for Ukraine, which was also supported by the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. The United States has signed on to 3 letters to support Ukraine and to hold Russia accountable for its war. These letters called for a series of measures, namely to suspend Russia and Belarus's sport national governing boards from international sport federations, to remove individuals closely aligned to the Russian and Belarusian states, including but not limited to government officials, from positions of influence on international sport federations, such as boards, organizing committees, other elements, and to encourage national and international sports organizations to suspend the broadcasting of sports competition into Russia and Belarus. Look, in cases where national and international sports organizations and other event organizers choose to permit athletes, but not just athletes, officials, administrators, others from Russia and Belarus to participate in sporting events, a couple things apply. It should be clear that they are not representing the Russian or Belarusian states. The use of official state Russian and Belarusian flags, emblems, and anthems should be prohibited, and appropriate steps should be taken to ensure that any public statement made or symbols displayed at sporting events by, again, athletes, administrators, officials, are consistent with this approach. We are proud of our close partnership with Team USA, and we look forward to our collective work around the world to use sport for good. And that includes in the United States and in countries around the world. We continue to support the people of Ukraine and to hold Russia accountable for this unjust war in Ukraine. But ultimately, we would defer you to the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee to comment on its position.
But I think he answered to my second part of the question, that if they don't go through that banning process.
We've put forward our position, as have a number of other countries. So we'll entertain that question if it's a real question. Let me move around just a little bit. Yes, sir.
Follow up on the China.